Hello, 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 and welcome to day 2 of the Mind Challenge. Now, this is about retraining your mind. So if you're just new to me, what I'm doing this week is going through a challenge to help you change perspective, to look at your thinking, and to actually put some things into practice. So if you're interested in getting some accountability and actually ensuring that you do put things into practice, then I've set up a Facebook group. It's very small at the moment, but it will be growing, and that's at facebook.com/groups/Success Club Academy. So that's what I'm doing today. So if you don't know me, if you're new to me, my name is Julie Johnson, and I help business women to cope with the challenges of running a business, to kind of cope with the challenges and the fast pace of, well, in fact, the fast pace of everything at the moment, fast changing pace in life generally. And I help them make the right decisions for them and their business so that they can grow a business that is not only profitable and suits them, but also gives them the lifestyle they want, so allows them to have a happy and successful life too. If you're here, oh, we've got some people there's some people in the room, so just say hi. It'd be lovely to see who I've got in the room, and just give me some hearts as I go through if this is useful for you. So, and don't forget to share and invite followers. I keep forgetting to say this. I'm fairly new to Periscope as well, so I forget to say that. But you click the, just press the Peri dude in the corner there and swipe right for iPhone, I think, and swipe up for Android. And just share with your followers and invite other people. So, this week, as I say, I've been going through looking at mindset and challenging you to just think about things a little bit differently, maybe giving you a different perspective. And today's session is called Put Yourself First Always. Now, because that's a little bit provocative for some people, then I want to just explore that a little bit. I'm only going to take sort of 10 or 15 minutes on this Periscope. It's not going to be particularly long, but hopefully it will be very valuable. So I want to explore what I mean by that, putting yourself first all of the time. And then I want to challenge you to do something just for you today. Now, I guess it depends on what time zone you're in, whether you can actually do this today. If it's really late at night, probably not in many places, but if it was really late at night, then I'll allow you to take that over until tomorrow. Okay, so does that sound good? Excellent. Okay, so when I say put yourself first, it's important to put yourself first all of the time. I want you to just examine what comes up for you. So I want you to think about the thoughts and the words that you say to yourself, the things that come to mind when I say something like that. I want you to become consciously aware of that. And if you've got a pad and paper, then just jot down some words, some things that you kind of say when I say you should put yourself first all of the time. Again, if you'd like to share, that's fab. I can take and sort of respond to you. But if not, I know that people that I've said this to in the past have various reactions. So it's sometimes things like, well, I can't. How can I? I've got a family, I've got young children, I've got a husband, I've got this, I've got that, I've got so many other things. Or that's easy for you to say. You haven't got young children. You haven't got whatever it is that I've got. Or sometimes it's, well, I can't do that because that's just really selfish. I teach my children not to be selfish, to look out for other people. Whatever it is for you, I just want you to be very clear about what it is without judging it. So just be a little bit curious about the types of things that pop into your mind when someone says you should really be putting yourself first all of the time. Not some of the time, all of the time. And then the next thing I want you to do is to examine the feelings and emotions that come up. Because if you've listened to any of my previous broadcasts, you'll know that there's kind of this virtuous circle where you have thoughts that impact on how you feel and the emotions that you feel and the words that you say out loud and to yourself. And all of those things impact on your actions or lack of action. And then they also impact on your results. So recognizing what you're feeling and what your emotions are when people say things to you is really important, because they trigger. Hello. because things trigger us, and we can't do anything about it unless we're aware of what's actually triggering us. So because I've got a few people just joined there, I just want to say the question again, which is, if I say you should put yourself first always, what does that bring to mind for you? So first of all, think about the thoughts and the words, what's coming into your head when I say something like that. And then think about what are the feelings and emotions that are attached to that. So if anyone wants to share, that would be fabulous. If not, what I've been saying is, sometimes I know, because I say this, I don't very often use the word should, I have to admit, because that's not a good word to use, because should is always kind of a, is that what you want to do? Or is that something you feel that other people want you to do, or you feel that other people... Sounds selfish to put yourself first. Yeah, you are absolutely not alone. In fact, I think it's a woman, well, now that might be that might be sexist, but in my experience, I found that it's more of a woman thing than it is of a man. And that's for various reasons. I mean, I guess I'll go on to that in a sec, but I just want you to be really aware of what's coming up for you, because that's important for you to recognize that, because you cannot do anything about changing any habits. Exactly, we are. I don't know your first name, so you are, but I don't know your first name there. So just tell me who you are, and then I can address you by person. But yeah, when we have habits, Grace, thank you very much, Grace. Yes, it's very much a woman thing. So I am just going to be sexist now and see what that brings up for people. But I absolutely believe it to be true that it's really important to put yourself first. And I mean, it's a lesson I learned about 12 years ago, actually, when it was really brought home to me. When I left full-time employment in 2000, I'd got to the point where I had small children. I was working ridiculous hours, had a really kind of responsible job that I was expected to just work as soon as when I got home in the evenings as well. And I knew that I was going to be off with stress because it was just all getting too much for me. So I literally just sent a one-line email resignation that night, and that was kind of me. Now, the point of the story is not that. The point of the story is what I did next was took some time just to kind of figure out what I wanted, what I needed, what my life, how I wanted my life to be. And when I got really clear on that, I then started to apply for some part-time jobs, got 3 interviews and 2 job offers, and also did a coaching qualification and decided actually I would quite like to set up my own business, but I didn't feel confident enough to do it at that stage. And when I set that in motion and actually got that part-time job and did my training qualification and was working very part-time, I was working 2 full days, and that was a very conscious choice, and that's the reason I chose the one employer I did go to, because he was happy for me to do 2 days even though he wanted me to do 3. I was doing 2 days in employment and 1 day doing this coaching qualification. And my husband actually said to me after a few months that life is so much happier. The household, everybody in the family is happy because you are happier. And that really struck a chord, and that stuck with me, because that is so important to get that external validation that what I was doing, which was figuring out what was best for me first, was actually going to be helpful for other people. So I know we hear things, you know, when you go on an aeroplane, for instance, you know, you've got, if there's any loss of pressure in the cabin and the oxygen mask comes down, what do they say? They always say, put your mask on first before attending to children. So it's however we feel and whatever we're thinking when people say some of this stuff, we need to recognise that that's our perception, that's our worldview, it may be our beliefs, and there is always a different perspective. Just think about when well, it might not even be a meeting, it could be in any kind of instance. I was going to say when you've been in a meeting and said something maybe, and somebody's just gone totally off the handle, got totally over the top reaction from your perspective. Now that was their stuff. That was, you said something or did something that triggered something in them, which will be past memories, which will all, so again, I've talked about this last week, it triggers what's in there and how you view the world and the experiences you've had. It's kind of triggered that. So that's all about them. So when I say put yourself first always, and you come up with, I can't do that, that's really selfish, we're caregivers, that's your stuff and that's your perception. Now, as a woman, I think you're quite right, Grace. You know, we're seen as natural caregivers. I mean, by nature, obviously, we're life givers. By upbringing, a lot of us are taught to be, well, maybe certainly people in my generation, were taught to be kind and end up being people pleasers a lot of the time. You know, they don't like to upset people. They don't like conflict. And that's okay to a point. But where do you come in the equation? And if you're looking out for everybody else, who's looking out for you? As I've said in some of these previous ones, we find it so easy to be helpful, to be nurturing, to give care and support to other people, but we don't find it that easy to do for ourselves. And I think, absolutely, it's impossible to focus on anything when you're completely distracted. So that's why, don't get me started on multitasking, because I absolutely disagree that we're great multitaskers. I think what we do is we have so much going on in our head, in our mind, that we try and do lots of things, but actually very often we're not doing any of those things particularly well. Or if we're doing them okay, we're not feeling great because we're always on to the next thing or thinking about something else at the same time. So I don't think that's a great idea. That's my personal opinion, but that's what I'm here to share. I want to get you thinking about how you think and realising that that is habitual, that's your perception, it's based on your beliefs, and the only way to do something about it is to recognise it in the first instance. And a lot of my work has actually been around giving women permission to focus on themselves, to focus on what you want, what you need. And I was just thinking, actually, I don't know why, it's just popping into my head, you know, this, if I say put yourself first always, that still rings true to me, because even in a situation where you're with your children, because I've got children but they're now grown up, they're in their 20s now, but even if you're in a situation where you're with children and it's a life and death situation, it is hard to find balance. But again, part of that, I'm going to address that in a sec, part of that's just up here. And part of that's not having clarity on balance. So let me just finish this story, Grace. She says, I've forgotten what I was talking about now. Oh yes, a life and death situation with children. Thank you. I need somebody to keep me right. So yes, it's nice to see some hearts sometimes. It was a life and death situation with children. I still think I'm putting myself first if I decide that what I want is to save a child, is to save my child. That's still me thinking, what do I want? And that's maybe a question that you need to ask yourself. So what I guess want to do is give you permission right now. And if you catch this on the replay, well, whenever you catch this, give you permission to focus on, what do I need? What do I want? So just take a moment to consider. If you think, what do I want? It probably means you need to stop doing certain things and you need to start doing certain things. So just consider what might be useful for you to stop doing? Any ideas what kinds of things they might be? I'm thinking of things like saying yes all of the time, even when you really want to say no. Giving in when you don't want to. Just doing, this is a good one, just doing it yourself because it's easier and because you don't want an argument. Yeah? Yes. So what does it mean you have to stop doing? And what does it mean you have to start doing? So what might you need to start doing in order to put yourself first? So boundaries is an important one. So Grace, you were saying about getting the balance right is really difficult. Well, I think part of that is because we haven't decided what we really want in terms of boundaries. And we need, once we've decided, we need to tell people. We need to just talk to people about what works for us and what will work for us. So even things like, you know, making the dinner, or doing things when you're at work and people expecting you, if you work from home like I do, as you can see, this is my home office, people expecting you to just be able to do things at home because you're at home. They don't consider that you're working. So it is up to you to be able to have those conversations with people. But before that, you need to know what it is that you want. So there is no point in complaining that you have no work-life balance, you have no real balance, if you haven't thought about what good balance means to you, because of course there is no such thing as the ideal work-life balance for everyone, because it's different for everyone. So you need to decide what that is for you. I'd love you to share what some of those things are, because what I'd like you to do is figure out one thing you can do. Yeah. So how does that stop you doing something that you want to do? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, Grace, in terms of what I've just been talking about. I know maybe that's a subject, that's a different subject then. Prioritizing, because I do work a lot with people on time management. Sometimes business needs to come first. Yes, yeah. And I think the ideal thing to do is to get your ideal. So in an ideal world, this is how I want it to be, and start to talk to people and set up structures and systems that will allow you to do that. Knowing that you will not always be in the ideal world. So you're going to have days, or you're going to have times where certain things absolutely need to be done in your business, and that means not doing some other things in the home. But as long as you're talking to the people that affects and giving the reasons, and they know that that's not all of the time, then that's perfectly fine. People are reasonable. People understand that. And I'm not a one for saying you have to stick to a set plan every single day. You have to stick to what works for you, but it's about recognizing it when it doesn't work for you. That's the important bit, and then doing something about it. So what one thing, Grace, could you do for yourself that would help you feel better, maybe about prioritizing business sometimes? So what one thing are you going to do? And if you want to join the Facebook group, go to Success Club Academy in the groups, and you can share there and I can support you more there. I don't want to go on longer than I said. So tomorrow I'm on at 4 o'clock, which is actually 2 hours earlier than today. And tomorrow I'm going to be talking about, I have to remind myself, your biggest fear and what to do about it. So I'd love you to share your homework. But your challenge is to just consider what's come up for you, what's been triggered, what do you need to stop doing, what can you start doing, and it can be really small, but pick one thing and do it, and then tell me. Fab. Okay, thanks, and bye, Grace. Thanks for participating and engaging, and hopefully I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now. I can't turn it off.